As Paul talks in this particular passage, he says he did this by ending the system of law with its commandments and regulations. There are some times that there are long-standing laws that are riddled with injustice, and when we see it as those who are reconcilers, ambassadors with the good news, hopeful message, that we're to speak into that too. And there are many laws that are still in existence for you and I today that are unjust. And when we see them, to just blindly look at and move on as if they don't exist is an affront and an offense to God and to one another who are persecuted by those very laws. There are things in our culture and in our world that you and I are to stand against. Why? Because we're kingdom people. And when we see things that aren't right, that don't honor God, that don't honor His creation, God's masterpiece, we are to do and say something about it. But if you don't think there's such a thing as white privilege, it's probably because you're white. There are doors in this country that historically Anglos have not had to kick in. They've been open wide. There are a lot of things that I haven't had to fight for, that Rob and Lynn have had to fight for. And so I just need to understand that as a part of being white and in the majority, there are doors that have been open to me. And I'm grateful for that. But with my position of privilege comes some level of responsibility. When I see that my brothers and sisters are suffering in ways that are unjust. And so, if you're part of the majority culture, typically there are things you just don't see. When I get stopped or pulled over for a ticket, the first thing that runs through my mind, and I've been pulled over a few times in my life, but the first thing that runs through my mind is, how am I going to get out of this? Right? And so I start to think about all the things that I can spin. It's true. I'm not saying it's sanctified or good. I'm just telling you the truth. I've never once worried about if I said the wrong thing or did the wrong thing that it might be a really bad thing for me. And I might end up getting hurt. I've never once thought that. I've never once, when I've gone shopping in the mall, in a store, never once thought about the clothes that I wear, because if I didn't wear the right kind of clothes, that maybe people were going to be following me to see whether or not I was taking stuff. Never once have I thought that. There are those in our fellowship who have had that happen to them on multiple occasions. That's just true. And so there are things, as we're thinking about who we are and where we are, they're just things that we're ignorant of. But as our eyes are open and we come to learn what is true, there may be things that we need to turn from or repent of. But there may be things inside of us that cause us to want to have compassion for people who've had a different way than we have. And I love you. It's not my aim to try and unnecessarily bring chaos into your world, but sometimes I have to prophetically stand up and say to you, there are things in us, much less our world, that we've got to look at and deal with if we want to be followers of Christ. You know, carrying that name means something to me. In fact, it means everything to me. I am a Christ follower before I am anything else. And if I'm a Christ follower, then I need to know what it means to get about the business of being like Him in every way. And so when I study the Scriptures, I can't help but see some of the things that I'm bringing to your attention. These are important. These are crucial.